You know that moment during a job interview when the manager slides your application across the desk, glances at it for maybe 3 seconds, and then asks the most casually terrifying question in the world? So, why do you want to work here? And suddenly your brain just freezes. Because what are you supposed to say? Do you say, honestly, I just need money to pay rent? Do you say, I've always had a deep passion for assembling burgers at high speed? Do you pretend you've dreamed your whole life of mastering the sacred art of the drive-through headset? You sit there, smiling politely, trying to assemble something that sounds like ambition instead of survival. I just really enjoy working with people. That's usually the line. The manager nods slowly, like they've heard that answer about 8,000 times before, which they probably have, and scribbles something down on the paper. In that moment right there, that weird mix of nerves, hope, and quiet desperation, that's the doorway. Because for millions of people, that interview is the beginning of a world that nobody really explains beforehand. A world where time moves differently. Where a 5-minute rush can feel like an hour. Where a headset beep can instantly spike your stress levels. Where you develop the strange ability to wrap food faster than your brain can form sentences. And honestly, I've spent way too much time thinking about that moment and what happens after it. My name is Roger, and for about 14 years, I worked as a hiring manager inside a Fortune 500 company, meaning I've interviewed thousands of people across all kinds of roles, from office jobs to entry-level positions where someone's very first line on their resume is fast food crew member. And what fascinated me wasn't just who got hired, it was what those jobs did to people. Because somewhere between that nervous interview and your 100th shift on the register, something changes. You start noticing things. About work, about customers, about pressure, about yourself. And weirdly enough, the lessons people learn behind a fast food counter are some of the most brutally honest life lessons you can get. Not glamorous ones, not motivational poster wisdom, but the kind of insight that only shows up when you're 5 hours into a shift, the fryer alarm is screaming, someone's yelling about missing pickles, and you're trying to remember if order number 248 was the double cheeseburger or the chicken sandwich. So today, I want to walk through what life as a fast food employee really teaches you. Not the corporate training version, the real version. The strange psychology of it, the skills you accidentally develop. The frustrations nobody talks about. And why, believe it or not, those chaotic shifts might be quietly shaping you in ways that matter much more than you realize. Your first shift is always surreal. You walk in wearing a brand new uniform that still smells like packaging plastic. Your shoes squeak on the tile floor. Everything is louder than you expected. Beeping machines, timers going off, someone shouting fries down, someone else yelling, who has order 92? And you're just standing there thinking, oh wow, this is way faster than I imagined. Fast food restaurants operate on a rhythm that doesn't really exist anywhere else. It's not quite chaos, but it's not calm either. It's like standing in the middle of a storm where everyone else already knows the dance steps. Someone hands you a headset. Just listen for now. So you listen. Welcome to, go ahead when you're ready. You hear customers talking through static, kids yelling in the background, car engines rumbling. You realize quickly that taking an order isn't just hearing words. It's translating. Yeah, let me get the number 3, but can you make it, wait, what was that sandwich again? You type as fast as you can. You mess up. Everyone messes up. That's part of the learning curve. And here's the first real lesson most people discover during that first shift. Speed and accuracy are two different skills. At first, you're slow. Then you try to go fast. Then you make mistakes. Eventually, after dozens of shifts, your hands start moving before your brain even catches up. You memorize the menu without realizing it. Your fingers find buttons automatically. You learn shortcuts. And suddenly, something that felt overwhelming becomes normal. Why does this matter? Because that's how almost every skill in life works. At the beginning, you're conscious of everything. Every step, every mistake. But repetition turns chaos into muscle memory. Fast food teaches that faster than almost any other job. And the takeaway? Don't fear the awkward beginning stage. Every expert you've ever seen started exactly there. Confused, slow, and slightly terrified of the headset. There's a moment in every shift when the calm disappears. You might be restocking napkins or wiping down a counter. And suddenly, the drive through line wraps around the building. Cars everywhere. Orders stacking up. The screen fills with tickets. And someone shouts the most ominous phrase in the restaurant: "We've got a rush." Now the entire kitchen transforms. Movements become faster. Communication becomes sharper. People start speaking in this strange, efficient shorthand. 2 fries. Need nuggets. Burger walking. If you've never worked in fast food, it's hard to explain just how intense that rush can feel. For about 30 minutes, it's nonstop. Customers, orders, timers, mistakes, corrections. Your brain switches into survival mode. And weirdly enough, that's where something interesting happens. You adapt. You stop overthinking. You move. You respond. You prioritize. And the rush eventually fades. When the line clears, everyone exhales. Sometimes someone laughs. Sometimes someone says something like, "Well, that was fun." And you realize something about pressure. Most people are terrified of it. But pressure also reveals what you're capable of. You handle more than you thought you could. You make decisions faster than you thought possible. And afterwards, normal life suddenly feels slow. That's one of the hidden gifts of working in fast food. It trains your brain to function under stress, which, by the way, is a skill that transfers to almost every career later on. Working in fast food is basically a crash course in human behavior. You meet every type of personality imaginable: the friendly regular, the quiet late night customer, the confused parent ordering for 5 kids, and occasionally, the angry person who acts like a missing sauce packet is a personal betrayal. It's fascinating because people reveal themselves in small moments: how they treat workers, how they react to mistakes, how patient or impatient they are. I once watched a customer explode in frustration over a 30-second delay. 30 seconds. Meanwhile, another customer waited calmly and said, "Take your time." Same situation. Completely different response. That contrast teaches something powerful. You start realizing that people bring their entire day with them when they walk into a restaurant. Their stress, their exhaustion, their bad mood, sometimes their kindness. And once you see that enough times, you stop taking things personally. That's emotional intelligence. Understanding that someone's reaction often has nothing to do with you. Fast food workers learn that early because they have to. Something surprising happens when you work enough shifts with the same crew. You become a team, not in a corporate training video kind of way. In a real way. You know who's fast on fries. Who handles drive-through best? Who can calm down an angry customer? During a rush, people instinctively cover for each other. Someone runs out of buns, another person grabs them. Someone gets overwhelmed, someone else jumps in. It's messy, but it works. And that teaches another important lesson. Most jobs aren't about individual brilliance. They're about coordination, people supporting each other, filling gaps, keeping the system moving. When one person slacks off, everyone feels it. When everyone pulls their weight, shifts feel smoother. That's teamwork in its most practical form. After enough time in fast food, you develop this almost robotic efficiency. You stack tasks, you multitask constantly. You start thinking in microseconds. You learn the difference between being busy and being productive. Because the restaurant doesn't reward frantic motion. It rewards smart motion. Fast, organized, precise. That mindset follows people into other careers, office jobs, management roles, even entrepreneurship, because efficiency is universal. And fast food forces you to learn it quickly. Something subtle happens after months on the job. You become tougher, not in a harsh way, but in a resilient way. You've handled rushes, difficult customers, long shifts, unexpected problems. So normal challenges don't feel as intimidating anymore. Confidence rarely appears magically. It grows through small victories, handling situations you once thought you couldn't. And fast food gives you plenty of those moments. Eventually, you start noticing something interesting. When you go to other restaurants as a customer, you see everything. The overwhelmed cashier, the stressed cook, the slow drive-through line. You understand what's happening behind the scenes. And you become more patient, more empathetic, because now you know how complicated that simple burger actually is. So, if you're working in fast food right now, or maybe thinking about applying, it's easy to assume the job is just temporary, just a paycheck, just something to get through. And in many ways, yeah, it is. But the experiences inside those shifts are quietly teaching you things most people don't realize until much later in their careers. You're learning how to work under pressure, how to communicate quickly, how to handle difficult personalities, how to stay focused in chaos, how to rely on a team. Those skills don't disappear when you leave the restaurant. They follow you into better jobs, into leadership roles, into life. And honestly, some of the most capable, adaptable people I've ever hired were the ones who once stood behind a fast food counter because they understood something fundamental about work. It's rarely glamorous. It's often messy. But if you show up, adapt, and keep learning, you slowly become the kind of person who can handle almost anything. So the next time you hear that headset beep, or see the drive-through line wrapping around the building, or someone shouts, "Fries down," take a second and notice what's happening. You're not just serving food. You're building skills most people don't even realize they're developing. And someday, when you look back at those shifts, you might realize they shaped you more than you expected. Not in loud, dramatic ways, but in quiet, practical ones. The kind that make you stronger, calmer, and ready for whatever challenge shows up next.